Hazardous communications. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Hazard Communication, HAZCOM, Employee Right to Know. We all deal with hazardous chemicals each day as part of everyday life. You may be exposed to larger amounts of chemicals in the workplace. It could be cargo in your trailer, while at a shipper, or even while fueling your truck. Just walking through a truck stop or a rest area has the possibility for potential exposure. Even common household chemicals have hazardous properties. Look under your sink or in your cleaning supplies and think about the variety of hazardous chemicals that are used in everyday life. Employees have both the need and the right to know the hazards and identities of the chemicals that they're exposed to while on the job. Chemical manufacturers must determine physical and health hazards of each product they make. They must label all containers and make and provide safety data sheets for all their products. Employers must have and make a written hazard communication program and a list of hazardous chemicals that the company uses, as well as any safety data sheets for those chemicals. These must be available to employees at request at any time. Employers must also train employees about the hazard communication standards, about chemicals that are used in the workplace, how to recognize, understand, and use labels, as well as SDSs for those chemicals, and how to use safe practice and handling procedures. Hazard determination must be performed by a manufacturer or importer. The hazardous communication written program is not complicated. It will basically spell out who, when, where, and what must be made readily available to any employee who requests it. All chemical containers should have basic information on what the container holds. This is accomplished by using a label. Even simple household chemicals will have a label showing properties and the possible hazards associated with its use. Chemical containers come in many different shapes and sizes. It might be a cardboard box, or it could be a double-walled insulated container. The National Fire Protection Association has a unique label used to quickly identify the hazards associated with specific chemicals. This diamond-shaped label is the one that is used by the NFPA. The blue area of the label communicates health risks, the red fire, the yellow particular reactivity hazards, and the white lists any special or specific hazards. The Hazardous Material Information System is another labeling system. It better defines the hazard levels and is used by most companies when dealing with hazardous chemicals. Each color represents a different area: health, fire, reactivity, and personal protection equipment. Let's look at what type of information is available in each category. This first section in blue is representing health. With the number 1 there, looking down, it basically states that it's a slight hazard. Irritation or minor injury would result from exposure to this substance. Protective measures are indicated. The next section in red represents the flammability. With the number 1 being here, it says flash point above 200 degrees Fahrenheit. The substance must be preheated to ignite. Most combustible solids would be in this category. In the third area, we're looking at reactivity. It lists a 1 as well. So looking at the 1, it says normally stable. Substances that may become unstable at elevated temperatures and pressures or when mixed with water. Approach with caution. The fourth section of this label is referring to personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment is categorized A through Z, with each letter in the alphabet representing a different type or group of protective equipment. On this particular label, it states the letter C. So in red, C represents safety glasses, gloves, apron. This particular label also lists X. So in going down through the list, we'll also see that X says, consult a supervisor or standard operating procedures, meaning if you have additional questions. I'm sure by now you're wondering just how you're supposed to remember all of this. No worries. It's all very simple. Just remember, the higher the number, the greater the hazard, with 0 being a minimal hazard level and 4 being a high hazard level. There are basically two types of containers that chemicals will be found in. The primary container, usually from the manufacturer, and a secondary container. This is the one that a chemical from a primary container has been transferred to. Both must be labeled to ensure compliance. SDSs are important, but not as important as the labels we discussed previously. This is because the label quickly gives you the information you need at a glance. The SDS provides more in-depth information about the chemical that you're working with. You will need to read your SDS. You need to know the hazards of the chemical, what personal protective equipment should be worn, symptoms of exposure, and any first aid information that might apply. If you need a safety data sheet or SDS, you can call the National SDS Service at 1-800-451-8346. Relay the necessary information and they will arrange to fax or email you an SDS on the specific product requested. Be prepared to provide them with the product name and UNID number, manufacturer's name, manufacturer's phone number, and UPC code. There are 9 common SDS sections: identification, composition, information on ingredients, hazards identification, first aid measures, accidental release measures, exposure controls, personal protection equipment, physical and chemical properties, stability and reactivity, and toxicological information. Let's just take a look at a sample of just a few sections of a safety data sheet. Section 1 of an SDS will include the chemical's name, the name of the manufacturer, product use, and emergency contact information. Most SDS will state in the event of an emergency to call Chemtrack. As a driver team member of USA Truck, you will always contact the USA Truck Collision Hotline in the event of any kind of an emergency involving a hazmat leak, spill, or incident. Do not contact Chemtrack. Contact USA Truck, and we will contact Chemtrack if necessary. Section 2 of the SDS contains all of the pertinent information associated with handling or being exposed to this particular chemical. This is called hazards identification. This continuation into Section 2 enlists more specific and detailed information as to the dangers and effects that exposure can cause. Be sure to follow regulations and safety policies to prevent exposure. Section 3 of the Safety Data Sheet refers to composition and information on ingredients. Section 4 of the Safety Data Sheet covers any emergency or first aid measures that may need to be taken when and if exposure happens. A couple of examples might be flushing eyes or removing a person to fresh air before seeking immediate medical attention. Section 9 of the Safety Data Sheet has the physical and chemical properties, so the substance may be identified by appearance or odor. It also contains information pertaining to flash point or the temperature required for the chemical to burn or flash.
In the event of a hazmat incident, you should notify DB Schenker Safety Department as soon as possible with as many details about the problem as you can. Do not call Chemtrek with these issues. Always call DB Schenker at 1-800-334-0648. The more specific the information is, the better and faster we can help you. This number is also in your driver handbook.